Well, all right. Thank you so much for staying with us. You're watching NTV today. And of course, this hour we'll be taking a look at the progress made in the BBI implementation, if to say so, and of course the debate surrounding it. Gabriel Muthuma is now joining us, our political and governance expert, as well as Mark Bichachi, political strategist. Thank you, gentlemen. Have a very happy New Year. I'm very sorry for the traffic that is within Nairobi.
My goodness.
Right.
I have a theory.
Right.
It is Sonko showing us how Nairobi is when he's not there.
No,
That is Mark's opinion for that matter.
I think it has got everything to do with the rains.
Right.
Even though I
Of
hear
course.
there were some issues in Mwiki. Is it the Mwiki area?
Right.
Matatus have gone on strike.
Uh-huh.
They've got poor. They are saying it's because of the poor state of the roads
Right.
out there. So I think there are some people who may not make it to school or to work
Right.
today, given the fact that those Matatus are not going. But let me tell you, it's bumper to bumper. It's
Indeed.
crazy.
Crazy,
It's
crazy.
indeed crazy.
So if you're in
Yes.
traffic, hopefully you'll be able to reach work later. So you better call your boss. Well, before that, and maybe away from that, we have the BBI report. And from where we left it last year, like I was telling Prof, the debate surrounding the BBI report was loud and the divisions were deep. Have we made progress in 2022 so far with the noise still there, Gabriel? Have we made any kind of progress?
I don't think there has been progress yet because we've not started implementing the BBI report.
Right.
What I'm afraid of is now the tangent that the whole thing is taking. And I think this is why the president was so concerned about allowing politicians to run with this BBI. And the president was quite adamant when he was saying, you know what, read it for yourselves and then let's start having a national conversation. But again, we must ask, how will we have that national conversation? How is it going to be arranged? Who will be the front runners of this national conversation? Will it be the same committee? Will it be joined by the politicians? How is it going to be? As you can tell right now, the committee has not been gazetted afresh.
Right.
So there's still that thing that's standing out. We saw the first meeting in Kisii. There's another one that's supposed to be going on the same area, I think in Bukungu. Is it Bukungu?
Yes.
Yeah.
Next weekend.
So next week.
Right.
So I think we have to wait and see the kind of tangent it's taking. You can already see it has created two factions.
Right.
There's one that's saying, why are we evangelizing BBI? And with all due respect, and justifiably so, we've accepted BBI. So what should happen next? If Kenyans don't have an issue with BBI, what should happen next? And I think that's the next conversation we should start having.
Right.
Yeah.
But look, Mark, we've had, a section of political leaders saying, why do you have to take it to the grassroots to have public participation of this particular report?
It's the same group of politicians, interestingly enough, who the other time was saying, this thing is so private. It's done so secretly. Why aren't they taking it to the people? Do you remember that conversation? And that's the kind of duplicitous talk that Kenyans really need to get tired of. Because you cannot be about BBI in April. Same people, same mouths were saying this thing is too secretive, it's only for politicians, Wanjiku has not been involved. Now, it's why is Wanjiku being involved? Why are we taking it to the people? And that tells you the issue here is not the BBI report. The issue here is the political fortunes or misfortunes that portend once BBI is implemented or not implemented. This is the thing, and I'll give my countrymen a very simple example. In 2005, when Raila Odinga, who by the way, did the right thing at the time, if you're going to cause problems in office, you should be given space to do so, and he was accommodated nicely in opposition at the time. But in 2005, when Orange won and the Orange Democratic Movement was made, they went into the 2007 elections with a lot of gravitas to win the election. Indeed, some still claim that Orange won that particular election. Now, this is 2020. 2022 is 2 years away. The feeling is, and this is the political reality, and Kenyans should not be lied to, that the politicians pro or against are trying to defend what is there for Wanjiku. The politicians who are against and the politicians who are for, all they're looking for is whoever wins the BBI battle most likely wins 2022. That's the only calculation. It is not rule of law. It is not wastage of resources, because let's talk about wastage of resources. These are the same people who defended Kimwarer and Aror. Okay, BBI, at least we have a report. BBI, at least the stadium was full of people and you can see where they paid for money. Kimwarer and Arod, the trees that were supposed to be uprooted are still there. So, but those same politicians were defending Kimwarer and Arod and saying we should spend more money in where we wasted. So it's not about wastage of resources. This is about political fortunes and misfortunes, and it is selfish and duplicitous, and they're lying to the Kenyan people. If they want to contradict me, let them give proof.
Right. And Prof, even with that, just yesterday, the Deputy President on his Twitter handle said, we accept the BBI stroke handshake has been hijacked to craft ODM's 2022 political lineup. Unity or inclusivity, pretense and associated squander of public resources should stop. Unity, he asks the opposition, NASA is already dismembered, stroke dead, now dividing Jubilee. What do you make of this? Is that assertion probably the reality of what they actually see, that ODM is there or that Raila is there to sort of dismember Jubilee Party?
I think first of all, I want to agree with my brother, right, Mark, and his assessment of the situation.
Right.
And especially so when it is about political interests of politicians in this matter. Every of those individuals is trying, or politicians, is trying to strategize to ensure that they are in the winning team. 2022 is coming. Where will I be if I'm a governor? And there are very many governors who are leaving office. Where will I be as a governor? Deputy President William Ruto will have done 2 terms. He cannot run as deputy president again. So the only option he has, of course, he has political ambitions, is to be president. And anything which may look like will block his ascendancy to president or will work against him is not welcome. So all those who support him and his agenda, of course, as a politician, will obviously be against any move or anything which will look like, forget about the fact that it may not, which will look like it is going to block his ascendancy to president. If you go back to BBI for quite some time, since the handshake, then BBI came, there's been lots of talk about the fact that BBI was formed and part of its agenda was to block the deputy president, William Samoei Ruto, from ascending to presidency. And therefore, I take his tweet and his comments about BBI in that context, that what is happening, according to him, is people who are conglomerating and coming together to actually oppose him or block him from ascending to presidency by using BBI. But you remember, one of those things I have never understood is that, you see, the President Uhuru Kenyatta, and the deputy president ran on the same ticket. And as it were, if you remember, during campaign time, and even after campaigns came in 2013 and all that time up to 2017, there was that relationship between the two which was very good. Now, as the principal assistant to the president, and since they ran this government, because he's the deputy president, what is so difficult in looking for the president or communicating with the president and making this very clear, because the president is on record as supporting the BBI and the way forward. It is the deputy president to look for the president, and they will have a private discussion, and as Kenyans, we will know the way forward from these two politicians who joined together and won elections in 2013 and subsequently in 2017. Unless then the deputy president is telling Kenyans and us that what has happened is that I'm no longer with the president.
Right.
I no longer subscribe to what the president is doing. The big four agenda is not there, and he's not supporting me for 2022. And therefore, what I'm communicating or saying is that I'm on my own, and I want to chart my way forward on my own.
Right. Gabe.
Very quickly, I think this is the right time we pose this question. And it's about three entities. What does BBI mean to Honorable Raila Odinga?
Right.
what does BBI mean to the Deputy President William Ruto? What does the BBI mean to the President Uhuru Kenyatta? And finally, what does BBI mean for Wanjiku?
Right.
Now, if we are collating to find a common answer, then we are heading in the right direction. But as it stands today, BBI means different things
We're not on the
to
same
all
page.
those entities. All right? And I believe this is where we need to start scrutinizing the entire BBI. Remember what I told you earlier on?
Right.
The president pronounced himself and said, first of all, read this report. And like Prof told you earlier, so many Kenyans have not been able to read that
Right,
report.
right.
So what are we expecting? All right? Soon we are told there's going to be town hall meetings, and many Kenyans are waiting to hear, and probably they'll be guided accordingly when those meetings come. But at the end of the day, what does BBI mean to those entities? What advantages are within BBI for Raila Odinga? What advantages are in BBI for the Deputy President? What advantages are there for the President Uhuru Kenyatta? So as you circumvent this, and I'm calling it a very, it's right now it's very confusing when it comes out, because people are pushing the BBI saying this is a game changer in this field. The others will say no, we've accepted BBI, let us implement it. But hardly are you hearing anybody saying about the how. Prof, how is going, the how, Zainab, is where all of us will come back to.
Right.
How and what are we implementing? But most importantly, how. This how is what will ensure
Right.
that we start to understand the sophisticates of 2022.
Right. And the
Because
vehicles.
where will you even start it? What I'm afraid of is that it's going to demarcate the country back to where we were with the yes and no campaign. And I feel that's where it will go, Mark Bichachi. Finally, that's where it will go. You will have the proponents saying, this is how we will want BBI to be implemented, and the others will say, no, this is how we will want it to be implemented.
Right.
It must produce a referendum, and others will say, no, it shouldn't, because it can da-da-da-da-da.
Right.
So I believe, as far as everybody is concerned, as far as Wanjiku is concerned, there are so many things within BBI that look amazing. To me, when I read that report, I say, you know what? If it provides all this, if it can give us all this, why not? But you see, my why not has not satisfied the how.
Right.
Okay, so how do we implement it? And it's funny because if we like the report, we are asking, if we like this food that we've been given, we're just asking, how is it going to be served? So when it comes down to Zainab, we are going to be fighting over a very small issue.
Right.
How do we implement the BBI? And what advantages do other people see that Wanjiku is not seeing?
Right.
Up until a point where BBI will mean something for Wanjiku, we are still lost. And I believe this is where the president was taking us. This is the journey the president was taking us. He said, these are the things that are ailing us. Key among them being the 5-year historic repetition that we do.
Right.
I mean, we bring the country to a brink of collapse every
Right.
5 years. So if that was his major concern, if the major concern was leaving a country that is united and peaceful,
Right.
then it must come back to the how. Because I believe the how is where things may go wrong.
All right.
But if we are able to charter our way
Right.
through those waters, and we all agree as a country this is it, then as we come towards 2022, the formations will be there, and I agree they will be there.
Right.
But I really wouldn't want BBI to be what will produce these formations. I think we will have lost it because Wanjiku was looking for a document that can
Right.
bring peace, sustainability, a way of doing things. But if it produces these, where people feel antagonized
Right.
and others feel as if they are losing out on it, then I don't think it will have served its purpose. Let BBI be implemented to the letter. Okay. Let us all Kenyans, let us join into the spirit of BBI, but at the end of it, let politicians do what they do best.
Right.
Let them politic outside. Yes.
Right.
And how they pursue them. And in fact, I'm happy Moses Kuria said clearly yesterday that it should be known clearly. He belongs to a faction or group which is supporting the deputy president
Right.
for 2022's presidency. So he's already aligned himself, and others are aligning themselves. And I think in terms of this whole situation. All these camps are coming out because of interests. There are those who are coalescing around the president, those coalescing around the Raila Odinga, those coalescing around the deputy president. And as I said, mine and my worry is always, how do we control the politicians to ensure that this country remains one? And that has been the agenda of the president. You remember, the president has been going around and saying that what we need is to have a citizen, a Kenyan from Central, working in Coast, a Kenyan from Coast working in Nyanza, so that there is no feeling of hatred among Kenyans because of that feeling of exclusion. But as my brother said, how do we move there? I think that has been a problem, because all the time when we try to move, whether it is BBI or any other effort, politicians will hijack those processes and politicize them. On the issue of court orders, like what we have just seen, you can see that this is something which was criminal, okay? An MP has been arrested, but politicians who are allied to that function or faction are now politicizing the same thing. When it is a simple matter, which Mheshimiwa Moses Kuria will have just gone to court, in fact, quietly, we will not even have known, and he will have been given bond, and that execution will have taken place without these tear gases. And, you know, we will just have seen on TV or something like has happened with him before, that he's been arrested, he has been released quietly before then. But because we are heading towards, Zainab, towards 2022, I can assure you, like every other time, or every other time we are just next to elections, there will be much louder noise. You asked about noise. There will be expect much louder noise, because everybody, of course, everybody will be there protecting their turf, as it were. And if you protect your turf and you are coming to my place, then there will be much more noise that you shouldn't be here, you shouldn't be there. And that is why we are saying that Kenyans should be suspicious of politicians and their interests, because their interests are not Wanjiku-led. Their interest is to ensure that they remain relevant whatever comes in 2022.
Right.
Yes.
So that's where we interrogate what Gabriel was talking about. Where does everyone's interests really lie? All right, and Gabriel, even on the same, some people opine that the BBI has created such a fertile environment for now the politicians to form alliances ahead of 2022.
Totally.
Is this now what we're seeing when we're seeing now the DP and his camp, and then when we're seeing the likes of Anne Waiguru, the governor of Kirinyaga, and we are seeing CS Matiang'i, and we're seeing Raila Odinga in one platform speaking the same?
Totally, totally, totally. And when you look at that, you ask yourself, a politician, or you should know this, a politician will always dive into the first pool that offers him a lifeline to leadership, bar none. It does not matter the color of the bus, that you know, whether the bus as long as it assures him of political expediency. They'll dive into it. And by the way, these are just politicians. Having said that, let me just mention a little bit about the court orders. And I want to be very clear about this. Court orders should be followed to totality. They should be, I mean, they should not be discussion. There should never be discussion about court orders. Having said that, there's something called breaking the law. If you break the law, let the law take its course. All right? Again, that is point of, you know, that does not require any discussion. You've broken the law. And I want people to be treated the way we've seen the likes of Akina Obado being treated, the way we've seen the likes of Akina Mike Mbuvi Sonko. Well, what factions were they in? What factions was Duge? What factions was CS Rotich? Did you see people gerrymandering or moving around? Did they? What faction was Nancy Baraza in? She pinched somebody. She lost her job. That is the kind of law I want to see being followed. So remove the political aspect out of it. When a law has been broken, because that's how you build a nation. By the way, that's how you build a strong nation, is when the rule of law becomes the order of the day. Otherwise, you'll have two sets of laws. One law, one set that applies to me, Mark, and Prof, and another one that applies to politicians.
Right.
And I'm glad, Mark, we had run away from those days, Prof, whereby if a governor was taken the DCI, what followed next? Kiambu Road, you could not be passed. The traffic, all the way from Muthaiga, everybody coming to see that governor.
Right.
But I think those days are behind us. And if where we are heading, if our constitution is going to provide that when somebody is found culpable, they are dealt with the same way. I mean, I'm talking about a senior government official, actually somebody who's flying a government flag. If they are found culpable, let the very same weight of the law be applied as if you're dealing with somebody who has stolen chicken from Nyamashaki.
Right.
That is the only way. That's the only true way for us to build a country that people follow the law.
Right.
Let us not have, somebody, a politician will be treated with kids' gloves, and what have you. I don't think that will, it's where we want to go. Having said that, let me come to the question that we've asked about the formations that will come out. You've already started seeing them coming out. And this is where politicians are asking, which side, promises me a good, the expediency, the political expediency.
Is this it? Is this the foundation?
I feel that's where it's going. I feel that's where it's going. And like somebody, pointed out, 2022 is just beckoning. So what formations must happen? Is Jubilee going to hold? Is the center in Jubilee going to hold? Is NASA looking for, or is the ODM going to be looking for formation?
Okay.
Is KANU going to, So these are going to be with us.
Right.
Question is, as we do all this, can we at the very least be mindful of the development trajectory that has been there? Since Kibaki and coming all the way to Uhuru, can we at the very least be mindful? You know why, Zainab, why it pains me? We have started paying back or repaying back our loans, right? Our tea sector is not where we should want it to be. Our coffee sector, employment, unemployment, or youth unemployment is still something we are grappling with. Food security is still something. Healthcare. These are all, all these things we are still trying to find a way where we can solidify them and have them, become part of our national fabric. So can we, at the very least, even as we politic, can we find a way to ensure that these developments do not start to get negated? Can we at the very least continue that trajectory? Because let me tell you, just walk around, and Mark can tell you, just walk around our neighboring countries. These people have set their minds and their goals on taking over the region.
Right.
And if we snooze, we lose. There are countries out there just waiting for us to, to start these shenanigans that we keep starting.
Right.
And let me tell you, they are going to chew us and spit us out.
All right.
Yeah.
So this is definitely the time to actually look at that and not neglect
and I'm not saying people should not politic.
Right.
I mean, politicians will always be politicians, all politics.
All right.
But as they do so,
can
the people who are given the reins to ensure that our development continues?
All right. And you speak of the Wanjiku and them not being left out in the conversation.
Yes.
And Kevin Mutai is speaking to a few of the residents in Mombasa County. Kevin, what are the views of the people from the coast region with regards to the BBI report? Remember, just yesterday, some of the coast politicians from the coast region did speak out, talking about the interest and where they stand within that particular report.
Well, of course, yes, Zainab, that is very true, and a lot of things are being said concerning that particular subject, and we're somehow seeing that there could be a polarization of particular leaders concerning the BBI. Remember that leaders from especially the coast region are of the view that their interests are not covered in the BBI report, with some of them, especially in Kwale, saying that there are issues to do with land that they feel have not been addressed adequately in that particular report, calling for somehow ratification of the document before the full presentation and implementation process begins. But of course, also other leaders being of the view that they are focusing on ensuring that the leaders within the coast region are well represented in key leadership positions, that the idea of coming up with a strong or rather powerful prime minister with two deputies, of course, the leaders are now centering on having their views on the table and being part of the national conversation of having the coastal region represented in the BBI document and, of course, in the implementation process. But, of course, other leaders are feeling that there are few who are currently trying to or rather unite Kenyans the coast region in order to front their own personal political gains and earning mileage using the BBI document. Remember, this conversation is happening all over the country. There have been a sensitization campaign on the document in other parts of the country, and we had Mombasa Governor Hassan Joho the other day speaking in Malindi saying that there will be such kind of series of campaigns happening here in the coast region, and he will be among the leaders in the coast region uniting other leaders within the 6 counties to come up with an ideology, to come up with a platform and a way forward on how to approach this particular matter, and of course urging the residents to support it. But of course also other leaders are questioning as to why some of these leaders are going around using the taxpayers' money, again asking for more time to review the document, yet there's nobody right now at this particular time objecting whatever is written in the document, saying that the time to delay the implementation process, of course, gives room for other leaders to insert their own interests in the document. But of course, let me quickly engage the residents from Mombasa to just give us their views on what they think about the BBI document. Umesikiza ripoti ya BBI, baadhi ya viongozi wamekuwa na hisia tofauti kuhusiana na ripoti hiyo. Nipe maoni yako. Wewe vipi kama mkazi wa Mombasa?
Mimi mkazi wa Mombasa, kwa jina Mr. Hassan. Lakini kusema kweli ni kwamba BBI inazimuzwa kwa watu wa bara peke yake kwa wingi, kwa sababu kwa hapa kwenu hajasikia. Pia kwa upande mwingine ni kwamba BBI mashinani hawajaipata. Sisi wengine hatujachukua hata karatasi moja kuiona ili tupate kutoa maoni yetu kwa undani zaidi. Ikizingatiwa kwamba BBI ni chombo ambacho watu wanakuzungumza kwamba kina maslahi mengi katika mambo mengine. Lakini kitu muhimu ni kwamba wangeweza kutoa karatasi kwa wingi, wakapeleka kwa mzee wa mtaa, wapelekwa katika vijiji ili kusudi wale ambao hawezi kuelewa kwa lugha zingine wakapata kusoma, ndio wapate kuona maoni mahuduti ya kujua kwamba hii BBI ina maslahi gani. Viongozi wao tuambia kwamba ni nzuri, kwa wao wanasema ni nzuri, lakini watu mashinani kwa kweli hawajapata makaratasi kusoma kitu kama kile. Maana yake lazima asome karatasi apate kuona ndani kilichopo ndani, achambue, apate uamuzi ndani yake kwamba hii ni nzuri ama ni mbaya. Lakini sasa tunasikia ni nzuri, lakini uzuri wanaojua wao sisi hatujua katika hapa pwani. Lakini
baadhi ya viongozi wameweza kuchukua hisia tofauti kuhusiana na ule mwelekeo ama mtazamo wa kuweza kutafuta nafasi za uongozi, wakihisi kwamba pia mpwani ana haki ya kuweza kuwakilisha eneo hili, ukanda la pwani, katika nyadhifa kuu katika serikali, ama kutokana na mapendekezo ya ripoti hiyo. Je, unaaminiana na viongozi hao?
Hiyo si sababu. Sababu kuu ni kwamba hata mtu anavyokwenda kutafuta maslahi yake kule juu kupata cheo kikubwa, bado atakuwa anapigania maslahi yake binafsi. Maana yake tunaona viongozi walikuwa wanasimama kutafuta kura akisema kwamba watapigania maslahi ya wananchi, vile vile bado wanashiba matumbo yao tu. Sasa ikisemekana kwamba wao wanapigania maslahi, kwamba mtu wa kawaida atakuwa na maslahi yake sawa sawa, atapata maslahi, hiyo ni uongo, haitawezekana hata kidogo. Maana tumeona mifano ile.
Sasa nichukue kazi moja wa mwisho kabisa hapa. Umesikia hisia tofauti zikieleza kuhusu ile swala la BBI. Je, uamini kwamba ama uangalia kama haki za ama yale matakwa ya Mkenya ama Wanjiku yameweza kuangaziwa na mazungumzo haya yakifanywa na hawa viongozi ama wanasiasa?
Mimi kwa maoni yangu, mimi naona kuwa hii BBI ni kupoteza time tu. Maanake ukiangalia kuwa ikiwa wanataka swala la kusaidia mwananchi wa kawaida, basi ni watekeleze katiba kikamilifu kusudi. Maanake katiba imeeleza kila kitu, imeeleza haki zote za uhuru. Ukiangalia kama Bills of Rights imepeana kila kitu, ukiangalia kama pesa kuja mashinani na ugatuzi pia umeelezewa kwa kina, na ukiangalia haki za watu kibinafsi ziko pale zimelangaziwa. Lakini kwa sasa ile pesa ambayo tunatumia kwa BBI, na ile hali kuna watoto waendi mashuleni, kuna watoto wanajitia kitanzi kwa sababu ya mambo kama hayo, kuna nzige wanatusumbua, kuna mambo mingi ambayo yanatusumbua katika nchi yetu. Kwa hivyo fikra yangu ni kuwa tuangalie kuwa tutatekeleza hii katiba kwa kikamilifu, ili kusudi tupate kuhakikisha kuwa mwananchi wa kawaida amefaidika, bali ya kupoteza senti na time katika mambo mengine. Kwa hivyo fikra yangu ni hiyo tu.
Shukrani sana. Also another thing to note, Zainab, is that according to some of the few leaders that I spoke to yesterday, they are saying that they are still following on the trajectory set by the president, by the head of state, while launching this particular document at the Bomas of Kenya, urging those behind the document to make sure that they have quite a good number of copies for them to be taken through, or rather to be given to all the people across the country to read the document by themselves and to be able to interpret some of the things that they feel they're comfortable with, and those, of course, that they're not comfortable with, and of course present their views about the matter, but not at least to take the position of the leaders. But of course, remember, this is a conversation that is happening nationally, and of course we'll be speaking to people, residents, leaders from across the 6 counties here in the coast, and we'll be having the views and of course represented in the subsequent bulletins during the day. Back to you, Zainab.
Hey, thank you so much, Kevin Mutai, there from the coastal region. But away from that, we'll be heading back and crossing over live to the Milimani Low Courts, where Attorney General Kihara Kariuki, who of course a few days ago summoned in court to explain the failure by government to comply with the court order to allow deported lawyer Miguna back into the country. And there you have it, live pictures. I don't know if it has begun yet. The magistrate is there. Let's just listen in for a bit.
And just wondering if you may probably allow us to...
No, I have no problem. In the next 15 minutes,
15 minutes.
I normally do my rulings in court.
Oh, you normally do it in court?
I'll write it here.
So in 15 minutes...
I'll have it here.
Yeah.
You can even talk in low tones.
Yes.
As you write.
So, my lord, we can also leave the courtroom.
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Don't take long because
Thank
I
you.
may finish.
Thank you, my lord.
But I want to finish.
Yeah.
That is my approach.
Thank you, my lord.
Even if I go there,
Thank
I
you.
do the same brain.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, my lord.
So you cannot...
All right, that's the case involving the deportation of lawyer Miguna, and of course the subsequent compliance with the court order to allow him back into the country. And the court has allowed and granted the defense 15 minutes break, and they will be back to continue with that particular case. Remember, the judge did issue the directive when an application by Miguna's lawyers for sanctions against the government for violation of his rights came up for hearing. We will be heading back there in just a moment. But also, as we continue with the BBI debate, I understand Okukusa also has some residents from Kisumu County who want to also chip in the conversation. Oko?
Yes, Zainab, of course, this is one of those subjects that people from this part of Kenya definitely must have some input. Remember, last week on Friday, there was that grand regional conversation regarding this BBI report that was held in Kisii, which brought together leaders from this region just discussing or engaging the members of the public and the common man down there on matters to do with BBI, how it's going to affect them, what it is contained in that particular document and their recommendations and stuff like that. So all that happened last week on Friday in Kisii. And of course, here in Kisumu, that particular meeting was watched with a lot of keenness, and residents here are actually itching to just have some little views regarding what is contained in that particular report and what they feel about it. And here I am joined by some of them. Let's start with this gentleman here. Tell us your names first, sir.
My name is Koga.
Okay. So let us know whether you have actually read that particular BBI report.
Well, I've not gone through it fully, but I had the access to the initial report in the newspapers. However, I'm not excited about it because since independence, we have had very good documents in the form of constitution. We had the Lancaster Constitution, the 210 Constitution. Well, the problem that we have had are the politicians when it comes to implementation. They put more emphasis on their individual interests. Those in power are not keen to implement what we have in full for fear of eroding their power. Like the BBI, well, what I see is we have two groups. One is fearful of the other. The first one is keen on getting power at all costs with our current constitution intact. The second group is fearful. Having enjoyed so much power, they fear the same powers get to the enemy. For that matter, they have brought in the BBI. And so long as our politics is still ethnic-based, I've got no faith in anything, whatever form they bring, because people will debate, but when it comes to implementation, the politicians, they're also individuals. They put forward the individual interests first, which might contradict what we want. Yes, like the taxation now. Okay. We pay so much. We are overtaxed as Kenyans. Right now, they have even invaded the informal sector with their taxation. But at the top level, you see a misuse of resources. Okay. Like one government official using 10 cars. That is an abuse of office.
Okay, fine. Let's hear from the rest of the team here. Okay. Tell us your name first.
My name is Alphonse Kuku. I'm a resident of Kisumu Central Constituency.
Okay, so have you managed to see the BBI report that is being talked about?
I can say something about it because there's some of the parts which I can say I'm well acquainted with. Like for example, let alone the politics side of it. BBI in the first place is being brought about so that we can maybe realize the unity as a nation, so that we can see each one of us as a brother. BBI is a very good document. For example, when you talk about the devolution part of it, devolution is being enhanced from the current revenue, which is 15%. They want to increase it up to at least 35%. That is going to be a plus for the devolved function, for the devolved system. When we talk about the representation, initially we had a major issue about the representation, the presidency, the executive. Everybody just sees the president, and the president automatically must be one person from one tribe. So when we talk about the BBI, they want it to look at the nationwide, like, so that the executive can be exclusive, in a way that we have the president, the prime minister, the vice president, and maybe the deputy prime minister, so that when we look at at Kenya, the presidency is not going to be a do or die thing like it used to be in the past. So according to me, the BBI, even the economic part of it, they are talking about what we call economic inclusivity, so that each and every corner of the nation can be included. When you have the national cake, it is being shared both at the executive level and the county level equitably.
Okay, sir. Let's have the final guy here. Your name, sir?
My name is Isaiah Onyango. I'm a Kisumu resident.
So just briefly, in a nutshell, do you think that BBI report is something that Kenyans should look forward to?
Yes, one thing I would want to say is when we were on the process of our last constitution of 2010, we were told when there were some complaints about the constitution, we were told that the 20% we will revisit, and maybe we will have a good constitution by this time. So I think the 20% that remained the other time is what we are going to work on. But what I want to add on is, let us not look at the constitution or the BBI as if it is a Raila or Uhuru document. Let us embrace this document as a Kenyan document. I've had opportunity to read some of the pages, though I've not finished it. But when you are talking about agriculture, it is there. When we are talking about education, it is there. When we are talking about everything, all these things are captured in BBI. And I want to say again to Kenyans that